Jacob had 12 sons, but he loved his son Joseph best of all. As a gift, Jacob made Joseph a special coat with bright colors. It was very beautiful, and that made Joseph's brothers hate him because they knew that their father loved him more than he loved them. Joseph also had special dreams, which made his brothers hate him even more. "Listen to this," he said to them. "I dreamed that we were all tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up straight, and all of your bundles bowed down before it." Joseph's brothers were furious. "Are you saying that you will rule over us?" they shouted, "and that you'll be our king?" Then Joseph had another dream. "Listen to this," he said. "I dreamed that the sun and the moon and 11 stars all bowed down before me." Now this time, even his father was upset. "Are you saying that your mother and I and all your brothers will one day bow before you?" Joseph's brothers hated him and his dreams more and more. So one day they decided to do something about it. They were out in the fields watching the sheep when they saw Joseph coming their way. "Here comes that dreamer," the brothers grumbled. "Let's kill him and say the wild animal ate him. We'll see what becomes of his fancy dreams then." But one of the brothers wasn't so sure. No, said Reuben. "It would be wrong to kill him. Let's just throw him in this empty well and leave him out here in the wilderness to die." So that's what they did. The brothers grabbed Joseph, tore off his fancy coat, and threw him in the empty well. Around that time, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders came by. Their camels were loaded with things to sell in Egypt. Then one of the brothers, Judah, formed a new plan. "Instead of leaving Joseph, why don't we get rid of him and make a little money in the process? Let's sell him as a slave to these Ishmaelite traders." The other brothers agreed. They sold Joseph for 20 silver coins. Then, to trick their father, they dipped Joseph's fancy coat in the blood of a goat. When they took it to Jacob, he wept over the death of his son. He was sure that Joseph had been killed by wild animals and that he would never see his favorite son again. And because of their clever plan, the brothers were sure that they would never see him again either. What they didn't count on was that God had a plan too. He had a plan to take care of Joseph and fulfill his dreams. When the Ishmaelites arrived in Egypt, they sold Joseph to Potiphar, a captain of Pharaoh's guard. God watched over Joseph, and he was successful in everything that he did. Potiphar's wife thought that Joseph was handsome and strong. She asked him to come to bed with her, but Joseph wouldn't do it. So Potiphar's wife told lies about Joseph. Potiphar believed her and had Joseph thrown into prison. Joseph met 2 men in prison. One was Pharaoh's cupbearer. The other was his chief baker. Both men had a dream on the same night. They were troubled and told their dreams to Joseph. God showed Joseph the meaning of the dreams. "In 3 days," Joseph said to the cupbearer, "you will be released from prison. You will also be Pharaoh's cupbearer once again." To the baker, Joseph said, "Your dream is not very good. In 3 days you will be put to death." 2 years went by. Then Pharaoh had 2 dreams. They were troubling dreams. That's when the cupbearer remembered Joseph. "There was a man in prison who explained my dream," the cupbearer told Pharaoh. "He got it exactly right." So Pharaoh sent for Joseph and told him his dream. "The first dream was by the Nile River," said Pharaoh. 7 fat cows walked out of the river. Then 7 skinny cows followed. They ate the fat cows. The next dream was in a field. 7 fat heads of grain were growing on a stalk. Then 7 skinny heads of grain sprouted. They ate up the fat heads. "I can't tell you what these dreams mean," said Joseph, "but God can." "The meaning of these 2 dreams is the same," said Joseph. "The 7 fat cows and 7 heads of grain stand for 7 years when the land will produce a lot of food. After that, though, 7 years of famine will come. Those are the 7 skinny cows and 7 heads of grain. God gave you 2 dreams to warn you that this will happen soon. You need to find someone who can store up food in the 7 good years. Then there will be enough to eat when things get bad." Pharaoh was very pleased with what Joseph told him, so he put Joseph in charge of storing up the food. He gave him a special ring, a gold chain, and fancy robes. Except for Pharaoh, no one in Egypt was more powerful than Joseph. One day, Joseph's brothers arrived in Egypt. They were hoping to buy food too. They bowed before Joseph. They did not recognize him. He knew who they were, though. When Joseph saw that they had changed, he told them who he was. The brothers were very scared. They remembered what they had done. They could see how powerful Joseph was. They thought he would punish them, but Joseph didn't. "You meant to harm me," he said, "but God made something good out of that. He used it to provide for our whole family. Go back home. Bring my father and the rest of the family with you. Live here in Egypt with me. We will all have enough to eat." So the brothers did as Joseph said. And because a dreamer trusted in the God who gave him his dreams, God's people were saved.